Today we will be fixing this drone's VTX antenna. As you can see, it is really bashed up from crashes and needs fixing. So you'll need some calipers, some coaxial cable, blue tack, a screwdriver to take apart the frame of your drone, some 0.7mm copper wire, some pliers, a pair of snips to cut the wire in the right places, some glasses, good soldering iron, and to know what kind of antenna you have, because this one is a right hand antenna and there are left hand antennas. If I can get this open, just see if I can. Yep, there you go. So as you can see, this is facing the right. It's pointing towards the right side, not the left. So that means it's right hand polarized. That's what I'll be making today. And if it's left hand polarized, it'll be facing a 45-degree angle this way. Just put that back together. Okay, and you also need some solder. And yeah, that's about it. Let's get on with it. Okay, for this next bit, we're going to be taking apart the frame of the drone so that we can get the broken antenna of the VTX. You'll need some solder, screwdriver to take apart the frame, the actual drone that you're going to fix, and soldering iron. That's it. So, now we're going to just take apart the frame by unscrewing these nuts. Make sure not to tug on any of the wires so they don't break. Okay, there you go. Now we're just going to unplug these connections. Now we can move the drone to the side. Now we have the canopy with the VTX in it. We're just going to slide the VTX out. We can put the canopy to the side. Now that we have the VTX out of the drone, we can get to the soldering bit. Make sure you have your glasses on for this bit, so that no pieces of solder will go flying into your eyes. Now, first we're going to wipe the tip to make sure it's nice and clean. We're going to tin it. And then we're just going to heat up this main pad right there. Okay. It's heating up, and then there you go. We've got the antenna off. This will go into the bin. Okay, now on to the next bit. Okay, so now we're going to want our pliers, snips, the copper wire, and then your calipers. So now we get our copper wire, then we're going to get our calipers and bring up 52.93. Now remember that this is tuned to 5.8 gigahertz, near enough to that, so it should work with all channels, but it's going to be the best nearest to 5.8. That's close enough. Okay, so now we're going to get that. Get our calipers, straighten out this as much as we can. Now we're just going to measure in between the two. Okay, so just get our snips and snip it. Should be almost exactly that number. It's pretty close. Just try and straighten it out a little bit. Okay, so that's the first thing we have to do. On to the next step. Okay, so now, once you have this straight piece, then we're going to bend two sides at 13.23. 13. Close enough, 23. So now we're going to get those two measurements. I'm going to grab right on there. Then bend at a 90-degree angle. Now Now we're just going to check that measurement to make sure it fits in between. As you can see, it's a little longer, but that's okay. Should be good enough. Then we're going to do that on the other side as well. Right, grab one there, bend 90 degrees. Now we're going to want to make 3 more of these. For this next step, we will be putting together the antenna now. So, we've got 3 of these pieces, and then we're just going to bend them all into this kind of shape. Kind of like that, but obviously better. We don't want them touching either, just like that. See if I can get it a little bit more straight. Just about right. You want it a little bit space between the two. Like that. Okay, so now we have the pieces, and we're just going to put them on here, like that, as you can see, and then we'll just tin this side so it has some solder on it, just like that. See how it has that little shiny bit on there? I'm going to do that for every single one. Okay, so now we'll just zoom out. Now we're going to get some blue tack. We're going to get all 3 of these. We're just going to stick them in here like that. And try and put them on a 45-degree angle. If you have a right hand polarized antenna, point it to the right. If you have a left hand polarized antenna, point it to the left. Okay, so now I've just set it up, and this is what it looks like. 45-degree angle, and that kind of angle's in there. If it looks like that, you're doing fine. And now we're just going to solder all those top ones that we've tinned together. There we go. On to the next step. Okay, so now we're going to need coax cable, a knife, and we're just going to cut along here. Just all the way around, through all the layers, right through. Just do it down here on the table. Try and get that first layer off. All the way around. As you can see, got the first layer off. Then we have that grounding shield. We're going to cut all that off. Then we can get our snips and then cut it off. Just like that. All the way around. Make sure there's no more of those little pieces of wire, because we don't want these two to touch each other. See if you can see that. Okay, so now we're going to get a knife again, and I'm going to cut, say, 4mm down. See if I can get it focused. There we are. Just about there. I'm going to cut all the way around, but not through it all, only the outside shielding. Not through anything else. I'll just get this to do this. Around and then take that off. So then you can see we have the shielding metal, and then we have the middle wire in there. So now I'm just going to clean up those wires a little bit more. Okay, so now we're going to tin these leads, the bottom leads. Now, so that's what we're going to do now. That should be good. So now we're going to get our coax cable. Let's clip it on here. there. And now we want the outside to connect to these bottom ones. Let me just see if I can get you to see. So you want the outside wire, this bit, that the big shiny bit, to connect to this piece of the wire. And then this little bit here will connect to that little wire just there. I'll be back when that's done. Okay, so now you should have something that looks like this. Little wire, coating, wire, then main coating. Now we're just going to tin these two wires, then just like this, get a soldering iron. Should look nice and shiny, preferably. Still make sure that those two aren't touching. Wires. Then should have something that looks a bit like that. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, so now, as you can see, I have finished. It isn't looking that great, but this will work. So now, the length of this, from where we joined the top to the bottom, is going to be 54 millimeters. Just make a mark there. Again. Now, we'll get our snips. We'll snip where we made that mark. Right there. That should be 54 millimeters. Or about that. Close enough. Okay, so now, get ready. We're going to now snip all the way around this. Strip them off. So now we've got this stripped off now. Okay. Now we're just going to trim it off some of this outside coating. Just like that. All the way around. Okay, so now, once you've done that, we're just going to expose the little wire now. Cutting around it. I'm trying to take off the coating. Okay, so now we have got that. Just like that, not touching each other again. Now we're going to tin those two. We're ready to go. On to the next step. Okay, so now we are going to solder these two together now. Just clip it on. Be careful not to scratch any of the components on there, of course, because you can damage it. And that's just going to go on there like that. I'll come back to you when that's done. Okay, so now we have finished that solder joint. Now we're going to slide this back in to the canopy. It's probably a little big for this little drone, but it'll still work. Just in that, if I can get it in. Yeah, just like that. That should be good. Then we're just going to put back together the drone. Okay, you have officially fixed your drone. See you in the next video.